Let's first head to South Africa, grab a question from our friend Rox. Question is, in terms of quantifying the effect on somebody's insulin resistance or their ability to kind of improve their diabetes, let's do foods here. One being, I don't know, a boneless, skinless chicken breast, and another one being the run-of-the-mill sugary breakfast cereal. We do know that, especially when you gravitate toward a plant-based diet, you want to eliminate the animal proteins for a number of reasons, but just in terms of an effect on blood sugar and insulin resistance, can you compare the two? Like, is it always best to stick with plant-based, even if it's got a lot of unhealthy ingredients, or, is the chicken breast the lesser of the two evils here?
Yeah, there's something called the PDI, or the Plant-Based Diet Index. And there have been many studies looking at comparing healthy plant-based diets. So there's even an HPDI, or healthy plant-based diet index, and unhealthy plant-based diets, or a UPDI, or and looking at these highly processed plant-based diets. And what has been found in these studies is not great. So they've definitely found that people with a higher PDI do better. People with a high HPDI do better. But people with a UPDI actually do worse. They do worse than people eating a relatively healthy omnivorous diet. So diet quality matters so much. There was just a study that came out in 2024 comparing children eating three different, omnivorous, plant-based, and or vegan and vegetarian diets, and they found the same thing, that with each dietary pattern, they can all do really well. But people that are eating a poor quality diet don't do so well. They don't do so well in terms of nutrients or anything else. And when it comes to overweight, obesity, and type 2 diabetes, these highly processed foods, if that's the bulk of your diet, I mean, in the average American diet, 60% of foods.
Please give them my best. No, it's quite all right. These are the things that happen.
60% of foods are actually ultra processed. And so whether you're eating a vegan diet or an omnivorous diet, if 60% of what you're eating is ultra processed, it's bad news. So in fact, and from an animal rights perspective, from an ecological perspective, the chicken breast is not a great thing. But in terms of health, you're better off with a chicken breast than with highly processed sweet cereal.
All right. Let's take a question from Josh over in the UK. Josh is wondering if you can talk a little bit about plant-based keto diets. Do you think that those are a healthier solution? Keto, highly controversial in the nutrition arena, especially when it comes to diabetes and heart disease. What are your thoughts there?
Well, a keto diet is essentially a diet that's about 75 or 80% or more percent of calories from fat. And when you've got that much fat coming in, there's no way of keeping saturated fat to where you need it to be. It's just impossible, even if you're doing a plant-based keto. You can't get as much fiber. You can't get as much antioxidants and phytochemicals, because that fat, you're consuming some concentrated fats and oils, which have the lowest nutrient density of any food. And so even though a keto vegan diet, for example, could flatline your blood glucose, it will not do as good of a job at reversing insulin resistance. It's just too high in fat. I would sooner someone be much more moderate or low in their intake of fat, and be consuming more fiber, phytochemicals, antioxidants, and whole plant foods. So that's my view. I really don't think keto, even vegan keto, is a good solution for people in the long term.
All right, here we are, 27 minutes and 45 seconds into the show, and oatmeal has not come up into the conversation until now. This question comes to us from Pete. Is steel-cut oatmeal truly healthier than rolled oats? He says that the glycemic index is very similar, but he's curious to get your thoughts, Brenda.
Yeah, well, that's part of why I did that whole grain hierarchy. So the very best oat product would be oat groats. That's what I use in my breakfast cereal. So this is the oat groat, like it's picked off the plant and it's not been cut, it's not been rolled. But the cut oat groats which are steel cut oats, would be slightly preferable to the rolled, because the rolled, you're further increasing the surface area. So technically it would be absorbed slightly more quickly into the bloodstream. Now it will depend on how you prepare those oats, of course, and whether the oats are thick cut or, quick, or so you want to go for more of an old fashioned rolled oat if you're using rolled oats. But of course, steel cut is slightly less processed than rolled. So the order would be oat groats, steel cut oats, rolled oats, and you could refine that to thick cut old fashioned, thinner cut old fashioned, and then the quicker versions.
Daggone, that is an oatmeal breakdown right there. That's what I love about you. We've got the oatmeal hierarchy right there. That's amazing. Okay, let's grab a question from Stephanie Spear at 322. Brenda, what are your thoughts on Ezekiel sprouted bread? Are you familiar with the Ezekiel brand?
Yeah, so Ezekiel bread is they use a sprouted grain flour for these breads, and they're not just using grains, they're using lentils. And so Ezekiel has a lower glycemic index than any bread, commercial bread I'm aware of. And it's because it doesn't just have grains, it has lentils. And so if you're choosing a bread for, when you're wanting to eat bread, when you have diabetes, I think it's really one of the very best choices. And while we're on the topic of lentils, when I cook oat groats or kamut berries or whatever intact grain I'm cooking, I always throw in a few lentils. You don't really taste them, but you've added a lot of fiber, protein, iron, zinc, all of those things. So lentils. And you know what? While we're on the topic of lentils, I have to say, my son, who's a bit of a culinary whiz, has come up with a couple of amazing ways to use lentils. One is soaking the lentils, blending them in a blender, and making a pancake with them. And so that pancake can be used as a crepe, very thin. It can be used kind of like a roti. It can be used in a number of ways.